Welcome everyone to the Norton Media Center, and today we're going to talk about an important election for November, which is the opening seat of the 1st Bristol District, which entails both Norton, precincts 3, 4, and 5, Mansfield, precincts 2, 3, 6, and all of Foxborough. Jay Barrows has served this seat for the past 17 years and was elected in 2007. So we have a spot to fill. And I welcome today one of the candidates for that seat, Michael Chaisson. Michael has agreed to come here today to introduce himself, and we'll talk a little bit about the district issues and his background. Michael, tell us about your early years, where you were born, raised, and that kind of thing.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
So Michael Chaisson, candidate for state representative in the 1st Bristol District. I was I was raised in Dedham, born in Boston, raised in Dedham. I graduated Dedham High School in 2013. After that, I went into the Carpenters Union. I spent 5 years there, got my license, and started to build up a clientele to start my business. I was working anywhere between 50, 60-hour weeks, doing side work plus my regular day job in the Carpenters Union, with the goal and the intention of starting a business. I always kind of had that idea in the back of my mind that that's something I wanted to attempt one day. Right after I got out of high school, I started coaching my younger brother. I played sports growing up as well. Football, basketball, baseball were my 3 things. I coached my brother for 5 years, just about 5 years, between baseball and basketball, which was a great opportunity to start to give back to my community and really see what it's like to be involved in the communities.
Okay, that sounds good. You're a small business owner, Michael, and why don't you tell us a little bit about your construction company, how you started? Tell us all about that, and I guess the carpentry trade itself and what it means to you.
Yeah, so I started working when I was 14. My mom used to drive me to work after school, and on the weekends I worked in a wood shop over in Hyde Park, where we made all custom millwork and doors and trim cabinets, and that's really where I fell in love with the trade and figured that's what I was going to do when I grew up. I started my business 7 years ago. I was 22 years old when I started my business. And like I said, prior to that, I had been working up some kind of a base of a clientele on the side, doing side work after hours and on the weekends, all while working in the Carpenters Union. It's risky taking that shot to start a business, but it's something I'm proud to say that I was able to build a successful business and continue to thrive right now with it.
Sounds like you love what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You served on the Foxborough Advisory Board. What were the duties of this position?
So the Foxborough Advisory Board, I say it in the quick snapshot, it's very similar to the Finance Committee that a lot of towns have. What we do is we look through all the warrant articles in the budget that is presented at town meeting, and then we make recommendations at town meeting about these warrants and the budget. It's a board of 7. I think we're gaining a couple this year, so it might be 8 or 9. But it's a board of 7, and after we have our one-on-one meetings during our weekly meetings with department heads, we then split off and become a liaison for 1 or 2 specific issues, and we really dig into that, and then we write our recommendations and present them at town meeting.
Sounds like another set of eyes for
local
government. Yeah, good. What motivates you to run for public office? It seems like you're on your way to some success in your business, but what about the motivation to run for public office?
I feel like it's a great way to give back and to be involved in the community. My wife and I bought a house 3 years ago in Foxborough. We love it here, and we're not planning on going anywhere. We're planning on having kids and raising them here, and I want to be involved and be a resource for people in the communities. The communities are very important. Like I said, I started getting involved in our communities when I was 18 and started coaching. Ever since then, I've kind of looked to give back in any way that I could. Those are the reasons from the heart. Some of the state reasons or political reasons would be fiscal responsibility is huge to me. If I ran my business the way that the government operates, I would have been out of business before I even got started. So I think it's important to pay attention where all of our hard-earned tax dollars are being spent and to bring some transparency to Beacon Hill. We all pay taxes, like I said, and we all work hard for those for our money. So the more information that we know about where everything is going, the better. There shouldn't be any reason why people don't know or don't understand where money is being used. The state rep is a unique situation. It's the smallest group of constituents you would have in the state house or at the federal level, even for that. So it's kind of that first connection you can make with somebody in politics, and you want to be there to answer any questions. I can speak to one thing real quick about small businesses. Anybody wanting to start a small business, I would want to be a resource. There's tons of programs out there for women-owned, veteran-owned, minority-owned companies or new business startups that people don't necessarily know about or don't know how to wade through that process, and that's just one example of something that I would want to be available for. One other thing is my website. When you go on it, the first thing you see, probably right below my name, is my personal cell phone number and my email. I want to be available, so please reach out with any questions. I put that there for a reason, and I think that it's so important to be connected.
Constituency service, Michael, you fulfill the obligation to your voters. What about, you had mentioned your website. You have to attend local board meetings and Q&A sessions with constituents.
Absolutely.
Do you agree with all those points?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, phone number and email, personal phone number and email is right there at the top of the website for easy access. You don't have to go searching to get in touch with me. Something you mentioned about maybe Q&A sessions, that would be something that I would be very interested in trying to set up if elected.
Little town hall.
Yeah, a little town hall meeting, maybe once every couple months or every quarter we could do something, just so people could have that transparency and have that kind of touch base of what's going on at the State House level. So advisory, we have meetings weekly during it's not really a session, but the time leading up to our town meetings. So those are great. We get to know a ton of information from that, but also attending town meetings. This year I was obviously at the Foxborough town meeting, but I also went to Mansfield and Norton just to have a better understanding of what's going on in each town.
You mentioned your favorite word, I've heard it mentioned in our private conversation, fiscally responsible. What does that mean to you?
Being careful and paying attention to where every single penny of tax dollars money is going. It's so important. Like I said earlier, if I ran my business the way that the state operates, or the federal government for that matter, I would have been out of business before I even started. We need to pay attention to where our money is going. You can use one example. I'm sure everybody's seen the news about the amount of money being spent on the migrant crisis. One thing we can do at the state level is amend the right to shelter law. I don't want to see anybody out in the street starving and not having a place to live, but spending $1 billion every single year, if not more, it's not sustainable for the state at all. And if we can amend that law, get that situation under control, there shouldn't be a need to increase any taxes. That'll free up, if we could free back up the whole $1 billion in taxes, that would be amazing. But even if we could free up half of that, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
And they leaned on the millionaire's tax, which hasn't worked out the way they expected.
Yeah, so the millionaire's tax was a big question 2 years ago. And it's important to realize that tax, it's an increase on people that earn over $1 million a year, but it was supposed to be used to help fund our schools. And from sitting on the advisory board, I can tell you from firsthand experience that there's not enough funding coming back from the state. And if you ask me, there should be, especially with a new tax like that. And it goes towards transparency. We don't necessarily know where that money's going. We don't know where the $1 billion for the migrant crisis is going. We don't know the list of contractors that have received any of the money. We don't know the list of the bid list for the contractors. We don't know any of that information, and that's stuff that should be readily accessible for people that are funding these issues.
My favorite topic is oftentimes unfunded mandates.
Yeah.
There's lots of those, right?
Yeah. Not a fan of those.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I know in Foxborough, I can speak to firsthand experience on the advisory board because this was one of our big issues this year, and it's a big issue across the state for a lot of towns is the MBTA Communities Act. I'm not a fan of that. I know we have a housing crisis. I would like to take more of a town level approach and have thoughtful zoning changes at the town level where we can maybe amend some zoning laws. I deal with it on a regular basis. It's tough, I'm not gonna lie, and every town has different zoning laws, which they should, because the characteristics of Norton is different than Mansfield. Mansfield's different than Foxborough. But one thing that all three towns have in common is they're small towns, and we need to realize why people come to a small town, why they want to live here. They don't want the density of the city, and just forcing an unfunded mandate on towns across the state to build, well, not necessarily build, but ultimately build, it's really a zoning law right now. I just don't think it's fair.
You know, working off one of your campaign brochures, let's touch some of these issues in a brief way. First, housing.
So housing, like I said, we have a housing crisis, definitely. We need more housing. One of the things that I'm very interested in is the ADUs and in-laws. I know that is being signed in. Maura Healey has a plan for that, but I don't think that we need to have any statewide zoning laws that would be attached to that zoning plan that she's signing in. Again, I think it needs to be a town level situation, or it needs to be handled at the town level through thoughtful zoning changes. And it just, we don't want to lose the characteristics of these towns. Millionaire's tax is one of those things too that it drove people out of here, that high earning people and high earning businesses out of the state. So it's difficult to attract new businesses when we have higher tax laws or tax brackets, and it's difficult to maintain the people we have here. I would look to try to bring fiscal responsibility to Beacon Hill, which would help in economic development. It might free up some tax dollars that we can put out in grants or loans. Similar to what I said earlier, try to be that liaison for people looking to start a business. There is programs out there that a lot of people don't know about, or they don't know how to navigate through the waters of getting some help from those grants. So I would definitely be looking to be that person for you.
Subject of public safety, always on people's minds.
Yeah.
Like already the beginnings of the regional approach we made in Foxborough with the call center or whatever. You can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, public safety is huge, super important. Along with economic development and the small businesses, public safety and our schools make these three towns one of the best areas to live in the state. It's what drives people to our communities. Whenever you have an issue, first person you're going to call is 911. SEMRAC has been a huge savings across the towns, and that was by regionalizing the dispatch for all our 911 or emergency services. And if we can find ways or tap into ways that maybe we can regionalize some other things in these towns, it can be reallocated for schools, for example, or roads or sidewalks. Any funding that we can give to our schools should be given. The millionaire's tax is a great example of funding that should be coming back to our towns to help our schools out. On the top of everybody's minds, and it's very important. We don't want to lose funding to our schools, and we don't want cuts. And a lot of that goes back to fiscal responsibility at the State House. There would be more money to give if we can truly pay attention to every penny that's being spent up there.
As you meet voters and listen to them, you see people concerned about the overreach of government at all levels. General topic, but I'm sure you're hearing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Government overreach is definitely a talking point, especially with the MBTA Community Act. There's one example of it right there, where they're coming down and mandating that the towns do something, and if they don't, they're going to start taking stuff away. I don't believe in it. It's just not what government was set up to do. The towns know what's best for them. The people that work and live in these towns know what's best for them, and it doesn't need to come from Beacon Hill.
Tell us a little bit about your decision-making process when you don't have all the answers. I always have an affinity for someone who admits they don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
Where are you going to go for your information?
Absolutely. I mean, well, first thing I tell you is that I'd be honest and transparent. Those are two huge things to me. If I don't know something, I'm gonna let you know, and I would hope that you would appreciate that response. But it doesn't stop there. I will continue to reach out and try to find every possible answer that I can, and then I would report back and give as much information as possible. One connection that I would love to lean on is Representative Barrows. He's been extremely helpful through this campaign, and I've grown to know him pretty well. He is endorsing us for this seat, and he's somebody that I'll always have in my phone contacts to be able to reach out. He's had 18 years of experience, and we're lucky to have that great leadership. So it's always nice to have somebody like that to lean on.
And he's still picking up the phone, I know, even though he knows he's
Yeah,
riding the
yeah,
sunset. Yeah. So you've already answered that question. I just said, his endorsement is pretty significant here for you.
Absolutely.
Gives you the confidence and trust he believes that you could fulfill
Absolutely.
what he had. He started at one time, just like you, and
Yep.
wet behind the ears, didn't know all the ropes. And so the importance of his endorsement and his commitment to your
Yes.
candidacy. Let's just keep.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
It's extremely important. Similar to what you said, we all start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to have all the answers on day one. I mean, I'm sure Representative Barrows doesn't have all the answers on whatever day, 18 years later. But it's that connection and the resource there is so important, and the confidence. The confidence that he has in me to be able to fulfill this position is amazing. It's huge.
Well, we've covered a lot of topics here, Michael. Would you like to make some closing remarks? Everybody
Sure.
can sum up what your candidacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the time, Paul, and thank you, Norton Media Center, for this quick interview. Like I said, I'm Michael Chaisson. I'm running for state representative in the 1st Bristol District. Campaign really is about fiscal responsibility, advocating for our communities, being present, involved, and transparency at Beacon Hill. I want to be that connection between my constituents and the State House. It's the smallest group of constituents at the state rep level, and I think it's important to be involved and present. If anybody out there wants to reach out to me, you can check out our website, chaisson4ma.com, or any of our social medias. You'll find them all on the website, or you can search Chaisson4ma on Facebook or Instagram, or give me a call. My phone number is on my website, on my Facebook, and it should be on my Instagram as well. So don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. I welcome them.
Well, thank you, Michael. This has been very informative, and I just remind everyone out there that we have the election in November. There'll be lots of things to decide, both national and state, but it's obviously this person's opinion. I'm Paul Ruozzi from Norton, and been involved with the Norton Republican Town Committee, that all politics is local, and that in fact we need to continue to take an interest in our civic duty. And with the youth of people like Michael willing to step up, I think we're lucky. Thank you.